It was the fall of 1948 in the Great Plains of Nebraska. The weather was calm and spirits were high, as a warm fall produced exceptionally bountiful harvests of wheat, corn, and soybeans to be sold. Everything seemed to be looking up, and with new technologies and better transportation methods, farmers and ranchers only had positive changes to look forward to in the future. There was no arguing that they were having luck, but by mid-November, that luck began to run out.
Nebraska has always been known for its severe winters, but nothing could prepare its residents for the harshness of the 1948 and 1949 blizzards. A Nebraska poet recalls the snow-filled winters of the Great Plains.
Great Plains in winter. Blue snow in the moonlight, set back from the road, a house with a single lamp-lit window. The whole world holds its breath.
The whole world, or the Great Plains at least, was indeed holding its breath as the first storm rolled in on November 18th, carrying heavy snow, sleet, and winds up to 50 and 70 miles per hour.
Roads were blocked, schools were closed, snow drifted over rooftops, and livestock were stranded. Unfortunate travelers that happened to be on the road when the storm hit filled hotels to overflowing, while many others were trapped in their cars. Trains were stuck, and telephone service was disrupted, making communication impossible. In fact, after the storm, the phone company reported more than 5,000 wire breaks and 1,700 downed telephone poles. Reports of snowfall up to 24 inches were reported around the Harrington and Bloomfield areas. The Weather Bureau went as far as to call the storm one of the most severe blizzards on record over much of the central and northeastern portions of the state. Holly Miller recalls having to venture out into the storm to rescue people who were stranded between York and Waco, Nebraska.
And then, of course, we had one bad one in 1948 too, here around York. And I can remember 4 of us leaving. Got us up at 4 o'clock in the morning because people were stranded between Waco and York. And we left at 4, got stranded out there, and 2 of the boys walked with blankets over their head, and they got within a mile or 2 of Waco. They found a little girl that was crippled in a car, and they hauled them, carried her to Waco in that terrible blizzard that you could hardly get your breath in, and when you really don't have any business out there walking. But the boys were smart enough to carry blankets with them, and as the wind sucked that breath away from them, they could keep themselves covered up so they could breathe, keep going.
Only some of the snow had melted before the next storm hit around Christmas time. Then, on January 2nd, the storms began, giving no break for the snow to melt off the land before covering it with another blanket of several inches. The blizzard lasted for almost 3 days across Nebraska, and isolated people on farms and ranches. Many who had sleighs used them to get to town. Some ranchers used the heavy snowfall to their advantage, hoping that it would lower the amount of livestock that could make it to the livestock auction in Chicago, and raising the price of cattle. Winton Wright remembers a local cattleman hiring young men to scoop paths for the livestock through pastures to board the train.
We went to church out northwest town, the Church of Shiloh. I can remember going. They'd have bulldozers pushing, higher than cars, you go through just a tunnel. When I was a boy, the neighbors south of us fed cattle, and they hired young men to scoop path for the cattle to drive to Benedict to load on the train. They used scoop shovels. All the young men around the community come and scoop snow. Mainly those cattle went to Chicago, and they thought they'd hit a good market by storm-wise.
The last 2 weeks of January brought even more sub-zero temperatures, freezing rain, and piles of snow. Then, when people thought they were on the countdown to summer, another raging storm dropped 20 inches in March, and the snow kept coming. The last of the storms hit on April 14th in the south central and eastern part of Nebraska, bringing 12 inches far into what should have been spring weather. One record from Antelope County stated that they had drifts up to 30 feet that didn't melt till June. Although parts of the state had received over 100 inches of snow throughout the vicious winter, people refused to give in to the blinding storms and immobilizing drifts.
Where they dropped hay out of airplanes to livestock that was stranded in pastures.
Holly Miller was referring to the relief efforts by civilians and officials most commonly known as Operation Haylift, a specific program of the relief effort, Operation Snowbound. Dan Norris of Brewster, Nebraska, probably put Operation Haylift in proper perspective when he said, "No doubt the operation did a great deal of good in its way. It was a temporary measure and kept cattle alive until they could be fed in a natural way."
Operation Haylift was so popular after the blizzard subsided that producers even made a movie featuring several star actors of the time. Operation Snowbound was an effort by many groups such as the 5th Army, the Red Cross, the Army Corps of Engineers, the Air Force, the National Guard, and the Civil Air Patrol. Through Operation Snowbound, relief workers teamed up to drop groceries, supplies, and hay to homesteads in need. The program was so effective that by the end of the blizzards, Operation Snowbound covered 193,193 square miles in 4 states, saved more than 4 million cattle from starvation, freed more than 243,000 snowbound people, cleared more than 115,000 miles of road, used 1,600 pieces of heavy equipment, and coordinated a 6,000-man workforce.
The blizzards of 1948 and 1949 stagger the imagination. Nebraska, used to severe winters, was enveloped in what seemed to be an eternal winter that no one was prepared for. To this day, no Nebraska winter storm can match its intensity and effects. This blizzard of a century, perhaps a millennium, stands as the Katrina of the plains.
Although there was loss of life, livestock, and stranding of thousands of families, the ways in which people came together to overcome a common hardship and the acts of kindness shown reflect the true character of Nebraska's citizens. The blizzards of 1948 and 1949 have their place in history books for years to come and are a pertinent and important part of our unique Nebraska identity.